Hello and welcome to StudyIQ. I am your friend Rahul Saigaonkar, and today we are going to discuss about the year 2022. This is going to be a speculative discussion about what would 2022 look like. You can see here we're going to talk about 5 foreign policy trends that will make or break 2022 for Joe Biden. So this discussion is going to be about United States President Joe Biden and what are his policy challenges in 2022. But before we begin the discussion, it's the first day of 2022 and I want to wish all of you a very happy new year. I hope this year brings you a lot of happiness and prosperity. But please remember, this is the third calendar year where we are looking at COVID-19. In 2020, we saw the first wave. So lockdowns were there. In 2021, we saw a second wave of lockdown and the Delta variant. And in 2022, we are looking at Omicron. Cases are rising at an alarming rate in India. So a message from my side, please be safe. Use masks, use sanitizers and maintain social distancing. And please do take your vaccines. Right, with that note, let's begin the discussion. And if you're preparing for UPSC Civil Services or State PSC or any other competitive exam, then do visit our website studyiq.com, or you can download the app from Google Play Store to know more about us and to avail our services. As I mentioned, it's the beginning of the year 2022. So that's Happy New Year 2022. But will it be a really happy year for Joe Biden? Because Joe Biden is looking at a lot of challenges in 2022, right at the beginning also throughout the year. And although this discussion is going to be about United States of America, but we do know that India is a very important partner of USA. And any impact, be it good or adverse impact on United States of America, it is going to have bearing on India also. So it makes sense for us also that whatever will be the foreign policy of USA, it is going to have impact on us, predominantly on the region, South Asia. So let's talk about 5 big foreign policy challenges, which include some domestic issues also for Joe Biden and United States of America. Let's begin. The first one is an immediate threat, the Russian threat. We all know that since past few months, Russia is mobilizing its troops on the Ukraine border. More than 1 lakh troops have also already been mobilized along the Ukrainian border. There is a threat of Russia attacking Ukraine. That means there is a threat of Russia versus the West right at the beginning of 2022. So it is to be seen how Joe Biden is going to handle this particular situation with Vladimir Putin, who is right now quite assertive and aggressive. You can see here that United States and Russia have agreed for security talks on January 10, 2022 amid growing tension over Ukraine. So how Joe Biden is going to handle Vladimir Putin is going to be the first test for Biden in 2022. Now we all know that Vladimir Putin might be playing a chicken game. What are Russia's concerns? Russia's concerns are mainly with NATO. Russia and Vladimir Putin wants NATO to back down basically from their own borders. They don't want NATO to expand. They don't want NATO to be aggressive. And perhaps because of that, Russia's threat is looming on Ukraine. And if at all there is a possibility in a hypothetical scenario, if Russia attacks Ukraine, what would be the trend that we will see in 2022? We might see more and more other aggressive countries attacking their neighbors or attacking other countries. So there is a possibility. And if Joe Biden fails to stop this aggression from Russia, it might have a domino effect and it might basically inspire other aggressive powers to go for attack or go for more aggressive foreign policy. So the first test for Biden is the Russian threat, the Russian test from Vladimir Putin. So we are all waiting for January 10. What is going to happen here? What is going to be the deal possibly? We'll look at it whenever the development comes. We'll talk about that on StudyIQ. But this is the first threat, the Russian threat. The second threat for Biden is more of a domestic issue. Now, what is that? The midterm elections. We all know that in the United States of America, 2022 has midterm elections, probably in October, November 2022. And in these midterm elections, how the Democrats perform is going to be seen by everybody. Now, normally what happens whenever there's a presidential elections and then a midterm election, we have seen the ruling party, that means the party from which the president belongs, they have generally lost seats in House of Representatives also and in the Senate also. If you look at the trend right from 1950s till 2020, you'll see that the impact has been negative. The blue lines here are for Democrats, red are for the Republicans. And this is basically a difference between the number of seats before the presidential election minus the number of seats after the presidential election. So most of the times the party has performed negatively. Barring a few instances, if you can see here, in the year 2000, Bill Clinton was the president. Democrats performed decently well in midterm elections, and then it was George W. Bush from 2000 to 2004, where the Republicans performed decently well. They got positive seats. That means compared to the previous midterm election, after George W. Bush became the president, they performed very well in the next midterm elections. Why? Again, because of war on terrorism. Barring that, if you look at the numbers here, everywhere is a negative trend. The same was observed even for Donald Trump. Donald Trump became president in 2016. His presidency started from January 2017. And in the next midterm election, the Republicans lost the seats. So if we go by this particular trend, we can estimate that possibly even Joe Biden is looking at some sort of negative seats in House of Representatives also and in Senate also. They might not have a lot of problems in Senate, but if they lose majority in House of Representatives, then we are possibly looking at a government shutdown in 2022, which is going to be catastrophic for Joe Biden, whose approval ratings are already quite low. So it is going to be a challenge how Joe Biden and his party, Democrats, perform in midterm elections. Everybody's eyes will be on these elections. So it's a second challenge for Joe Biden. Apart from that, another big challenge for Joe Biden is Afghanistan. We all know this. In August 2021, United States withdrew from Afghanistan. Afghanistan was completely captured by Taliban. And since that time, we are looking at so many news where Taliban is trying to govern. Right now, Taliban is looking at two possibilities. The first one is to gain legitimacy, right? It is trying to gain that legitimacy. And in this particular effort, Pakistan is trying to help them immensely. How Taliban can get legitimacy, it is a big concern for Pakistan rather than Taliban itself. So to gain this legitimacy, there is a second theme which is connected to the money. Right now, Afghanistan is going through a lot of economic issues. And this legitimacy part will depend a lot on money or how economic transformation of Afghanistan will take place. If the economic crisis is resolved, or at least if the economic crisis is brought under control, then Taliban regime might survive. But right now the possibilities of that are quite low. And the fate of Afghanistan, it hangs in balance in 2022. If the Taliban regime falls, then we are possibly looking at another civil war in Afghanistan. And if there is a civil war in Afghanistan, what would United States do? Will it again involve itself directly in Afghanistan, or will they play some sort of a back-end role or a back-end support role in Afghanistan is to be seen. But the third biggest test for Joe Biden's government would be how they are going to handle Afghanistan. Because if there is more and more volatility in Afghanistan, it is going to impact many of its partners, where predominantly India is one of it. So how United States is going to evolve its Afghanistan policy is to be seen, whether it is just going to be humanitarian assistance, or if at all the Taliban regime falls, then what is going to be the US approach? Everybody's eyes will also be on that. How Biden's performs on this will make or break his 2022. Apart from this, another big foreign policy threat is Iran. Will 2022 see a deal or no deal? You can see the news here. It's just a couple of weeks back news where US negotiator for the Iran deal has said there are only few weeks left to revive the Iran nuclear deal. Will this nuclear deal be revived or not? This is going to be another test for Joe Biden. Now why? See, first of all, as soon as Biden became president, there were some news reports where it was suggested that Biden might revive the Iran nuclear deal. But right now, Biden is trying to leverage something from this particular deal. But if they go for a nuclear deal with Iran, what would be its repercussions on Saudi Arabia? What would be its repercussions on UAE and other partners in West Asia? This is to be seen. Again, we all know in 2018, USA reneged from this Iran nuclear deal. Donald Trump's administration, they reneged from the deal. After that, there have been many news reports where it is already highlighted that Iran is enriching uranium and it is stockpiling. What about that stockpile? What would be the new deal look like? And if United States deals with Iran unilaterally, what would be the approach of other players, predominantly European Union, and in that also Germany? What would be the approach of Germany will be seen. how USA handles the other players in West Asia, that is going to be major challenge for Biden. And if this foreign policy fails, it is going to further put a dent on legitimacy of Biden and his administration, especially in terms of foreign policy handling. And the final threat would be, here no prizes for guesses, is going to be China. Because we all know that the 21st century is going to be a century of competition between China and United States of America. The question is, will China move on Taiwan in 2022? The answer would be perhaps no. But if you look at United States, in US political circles, there was a lot of flutter when senior US admiral, he warned that in the upcoming 6 years, China might invade Taiwan. Now, this caused a lot of flutter in political circles in United States of America. Now, since that time, everybody has been taking China very seriously. China might invade Taiwan, although it is going to be counterproductive for everybody. But nonetheless, 2022 is going to be a defining year how Joe Biden is going to develop his policy, especially to counter Chinese. We all know that United States is engaged in a strategic competition with China everywhere in terms of military development, in terms of trade development, in terms of technological development. For example, 5G diversification, United States is heading it and India is supporting US in that to diversify 5G to reduce the clout of Huawei, the Chinese company. So 2022 will be defined by how United States is going to counter China, whether there would be more and more problems between US and China or whether there will be some sort of reconciliation. Again, this is going to be a big challenge for Biden. How is he going to handle China? Everybody's eyes would be on this particular thing as well. So these are the 5 policy challenges for Joe Biden looking into 2022. This is going to be a make or break year for Joe Biden. Of course, there is another possibility for sure. It is not a policy challenge issue, but there is always another big possibility that Joe Biden may not be the president of United States of America. Now, why I am telling this? Because Joe Biden's age is 79 years. He is the oldest US president till date. And there are health issues. In many reports, people have raised questions over his cognitive abilities, over his speaking, etc. In fact, you must have heard about this news. In November 2021, Kamala Harris created history for 85 minutes. She became the first woman with presidential powers, although she was the acting president of United States of America only for 85 minutes. Why? Because Joe Biden, the president of US, was undergoing a routine medical checkup. Under this, he was undergoing colonoscopy, where he transferred powers to Kamala Harris because he was under the influence of anesthesia. So for 85 minutes, already Kamala Harris had presidential powers. And it might happen in 2022 or 23, or might not happen also. But there is a big possibility that we might look at a first female United States full-time president. Again, full-time in the sense, whatever is the remaining period for that, she might become president if there is something wrong with Joe Biden. There is a possibility of that. So we'll look out for that also in 2022. And if any development comes over this, we'll have a quick discussion on StudyIQ as usual. That is it right now from my side. Thank you for watching this video. Jai Hind.